Within each one of those sections, usually there is a material. From resources have access to, all right? And so you want to read those. Sometimes it will refer you to scripture verses that you can go read, study on a particular idea. Once in a while, we refer to one of the other volumes. If you're in Divine Providence, which is the third set, we may refer you back to a different one for more information. So if you're working in a school, you might need to go ask one of the other teachers, can I look back at this in your book? Okay. Then we have a section in there called For Reflection and Reasoning. That contains questions, suggestions for things to talk about in class. It may have verses that the children can look up. It may give you some suggestions for things you can write on the board to guide their reasoning. Sometimes there will be a little chart that it will suggest you prepare this chart on the board and talk about the different points as you go through the lesson. Questions to specifically ask the students to help guide their reasoning are in there. And then if there's a student activity page that has been prepared to go with that leading idea, there will be a little image of that page with the information on it that the students will record. So you can look at that little example so that you can see specific suggesting that they write. If you purchase a copy of the teacher's guide, it comes with a CD in the back. We've had quite a few call the Pilgrim office and say, I put the CD in my CD player and I couldn't hear anything. It's not an audio CD. It is for your computer. So you pop it in your computer, and if your computer is set up the right way, it will just pop up on the screen with every chapter title or chapter number, and you can open the file for that chapter and print out the student activity pages that are included. So I think that kind of helps you to maybe understand if you're not familiar with how the book works. And the student activity pages, lots of variety. Some of them have things that they're reasoning to conclusions. Sometimes there are suggestions for student notes where they will just write them on notebook paper. There are suggestions for questions that you might have them answer. It'll say a specific question, that you can answer, and those are called Cultivating Student Mastery. Once in a while, I have to show this one because this was both of my children. This was their favorite student activity page in the whole book that particular year because it's about China and some of the spices that came from China. And so they actually globbed a whole bunch of glue on there and they picked which spice they wanted to use, and they put it on there. And this is my son's notebook. He is in 6th grade, so this is from 4 years ago, and it still smells like cloves. But they love it. And so then we talked about how that spice can be used, and we made gingerbread cookies because he picked cloves. And so those kinds of things. There are maps that they can write on and label different places. Sometimes there are suggestions for maybe some other things that you can do on your own as far as looking at maps on the wall, that kind of thing. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to tell you about the books. Oh, someone asked a question about the colored pictures because I know not everyone can print in color all the time. If you're printing pages for a large class, that just is a little impractical. If you select on your computer, somewhere on your print screen, there should be a little place you can select Print All Color Images in Black and White. And if you do that, maybe adjust the contrast a little bit, lighten up the contrast on your printer. It will come out a little clearer on some of the pages because on some of them the color is very dark and things have shadows, and so they're a little bit unreadable. So that's just a little free information there. All right. Before we end, and I'll give you a minute to ask questions, Again, why are we teaching America's Christian history? That the generation to come might know, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God. And it's these 8 little grandchildren that inspired that first book to get going, because there was going to be a little girl in first grade that needed history. And so there they stand, and they have all had the privilege of studying through these books, and what a joy it is to be teaching America's history to the next generation.